All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushua, Bahashim, Rachah, Kudash. I want to give the honors to my apostles and others, great millstone, who teach very well where I learned this truth from, and salutation out there to the hopeful elect, who continue to push his word in our truth, faith, and sincerity. And also, Shalom to all the men, women, and children who sincerely believe upon the words of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushua. And today, man, just basically getting on prophecy. Because this devil, his actions, his plans, Salaki, is already in action, and we can already see those things happening in the Strait of Hormuz, but also the MOTB, because before World War III fully pop off, before the missiles come, it's going to be a tiny little device that these devils are going to push in people's hands and foreheads in order to buy or sell. That's the reason why this American culture and also other cultures around the world have adapted to this, the comfortability, the culture of comfortability. And once you're comfortable, you're too ignorant to hear the truth, because the truth is going to compromise your comfortability. So starting off with our apostles and elders on down to younger brothers like myself, man, we've been teaching about the MOTB. That little thing that will change the world, Matter of fact, I'm going to start right here. We got that in Revelations 13, but let's get this in Revelations 3 first, and then we're going to get an article. Revelations 3, jumping down to verse 10, because that has kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation. And that hour of temptation is what? Jacob's trouble. The time like no other. It's going to be famines. Cannibalism is going to come back. People are going to be in extreme desperate measures. In those desperate measures, Esau, he's going to force them on people, by the way of raising up prices and things like that. But also, he's going to come with a solution. And that solution is going to be the MOTB. There's going to be a lot of people savers here in these latter days, but the only thing is saving is your spot full of missiles. Because through order out of chaos, this guy, he brings suffering, he brings evil, he compromised people's integrity, and then all of a sudden, he'll come with a solution. With just one little tap, everything will be back okay. But it wouldn't, man. Again, even when you go into after the pandemic, they started calling this thing a new normal, basically showing that these devils were preparing for their new world order. Read this again, though. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell therein. It's like to try them that dwell upon the earth, yes. Because everybody that dwell within the earth will be tried with this MOTB. It's just not going to be an American thing or a Babylonian thing. It is going to be a global thing. It's going to change the global markets and everything, And the reason why is because these people are trying to dominate the planet Earth, man. We know what people that I'm talking about. Them tiny boys. But at the same time, the Lord, he's going to disappoint them. But let's get this article real quick. This is an article from Wired.com. It says, China approves the first brain CHIPs for sales and has planned to dominate the industry. Number one, why is China talking about the MOTB? Why are they not talking about sin or white women? Or Baz Reeves? No. They're talking about this because they're going according to the plans of the Heavenly Father. Because this is according to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. It says the hour of temptation which shall try the whole world. And China is taking the initiative to push forth this thing. We can see Elon Musk with Neuralink, but there's plenty of other brain interface companies that are created, man. Let's go on and read this. It says, while the United States and Europe are moving cautiously forward with the clinical trials, China is racing toward the commercialization of brain implants. Let's get that word commercialization real quick. Just see a regular Google definition of it. It says, running the process of managing or running something principally for financial gain. Now you say, well, why these little microchips? What they got to do with financial gain? Because what's that thing inside of you, ultimately, you're a property of the elites, man. You're property of the higher ups. You have to realize, man, America is a corporation, and this devil is going to try to make the whole world a corporation by putting this thing inside you. You're going to be considered as cattle. Whatever number you is, he's gonna, this how many sheep I got. Let's go and read a little bit of this. It says China has made history by becoming the first nation to approve a commercially available brain C-hip to treat a disability neo. The implant developed by Neuro Medical Technology translates the thoughts of a person with paralysis into movements of an assistive robotic hand. Some people who have certain muscular diseases, and they can't get up on their own or even open a drink or even put a can to their mouth. Hey, they're gonna love this. Again, because it's gonna be pushed forth as a convenience, or say something that you need. For the lack of better words, like what a lot of these people fall for is things to quote unquote make your life easier. The reason why they put the tap on the phone, because it quote unquote make life easier, man. And again, they're going to try to quote unquote make life easier by putting that thing inside you. Instead of you having to physically bring out your social security card, you physically have to, get your wallet and different things like that. All that is going to be jammed into a tiny little device. And that's going to be you, man. But also you're going to be a part of the web, the Internet of Things. Let's go ahead and read a little bit of this. It says, let me jump down a little bit. Yep. The plan to dominate the brain implant industry, and really they're trying to dominate these people. The development comes just months after China issued a policy document that outlines the country's strategy to create a globally competitive BCI, brain C-hip interface. Within 5 years, the plan outlines 17 steps to lead the research, development, and applications of these technologies. So in the next couple of years, this is going to be the next trend. That's what they're saying. Just like the cell phone was a trend, the new trend is going to be this tiny little device. And these people, they're praying for it. And there's no coincidence. The PlayStation 5 come from China. They got a PlayStation 6. They get it 6 months earlier. But these are the most minute people upon the planet. There's a lot of them, for lack of better words. Some of them are Jake, but hey, they remedial. That's a word for it. These are the most remedial people upon the planet Earth once you go into it. Let's go in and continue on. It says the Chinese government has always supported disruptive technology. I think from the government's point of view, yes. Why is the government trying to do this? Continuing on. This policy means BCI technology has already moved from the concept level to the product level. Phoenix, co-founder of NeuroXX and Gestala, both BCI companies, told Wire earlier this year. It says, that's pretty much on it. That's pretty much it on it, man, because ultimately it's already beginning. Let's get this last one. For the brain implants have a clear objective to restore autonomy to people with disabilities. Experimental devices exist that allows users to communicate with thoughts, so they can read your mind. And if they can read your mind, don't you think they can send different frequencies to send different thoughts in your mind? Continuing on, operate computers without moving muscles, and even technologies that are beginning to restore vision. With the commercial approval of Neo, the industry enters a new phase in the spirit Neo off the Matrix. These guys, they want you to enter into the matrix of the internet. The spirit is no coincidence. They got the BCI, and all of a sudden, what's that thing called? The game. I can't even think of it, man. The headset gaming systems, brothers know what I'm talking about. But it's no coincidence. They trying to make all these things a reality, and niggas are really going to, risk their salvation so they can play the game. They can be in the game and be as Mario in the game. Niggas are going to really risk their salvation for vain things, man. Because again, it's all going to be under the banner of comfortability. That's why even once you go into China, once you read the article, it says even though Europe and America, they coming up, but at the same time, China, they trying to dominate the market, man. Telling you it's not going to be for your convenience. Ultimately, it's going to be for wealth, man. Again, you're going to be considered as Goyim if you have that thing inside you. Let's go back into this Revelations 13, jump it down to verse 16. And it says, and he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. And yeah, that mark going back into charagma, which is something that's physically going to get into your hand. This is not no spiritual thing happening, man. This is a physical thing that's going to change the planet Earth, you know? And again, all these other nations are prepping for it, because even though China, you say, yo, China, they always been in technology. The US is up there, Europe up there, but even all these other countries, they buy the technology from them. And it really, man, it's just an order from the elites, you know? Continuing on though, it says, and again, it's gonna be the new cell phones. Continue, you know, just like Samsung and iPhone. It's gonna be different C-hips, but like it's going back into the same motherfucker. You know, these niggas are still getting the same profits, man. Continuing on though, it says, because you can have a C-hip in your butt cheek. It's a girl named Chip Chan. She's on YouTube. She got a chip in her foot. You know. So you can just walk out like that Amazon Go store and your stuff are already paid for. You don't want everybody to see your skin oozing out. You know, you got it right under your thigh. And that's what these people are going to resort to here in these latter days. Continuing on. And that no man might buy or sell, save he hath the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So you're not going to be able to buy or sell unless you got that thing inside you. And again, you can say, yeah, we could just, you know, the water. The water's already poison. Don't be surprised if this guy do some type of attack to taint the water even more. You know, don't be surprised if these food trucks stop running into the cities every 3 days because the price of gas is so high. You know, again, we come into the time when the Lord is going to put these Americans and people across the whole world in an uncomfortable situation. You know, and why these people are going to be uncomfortable, they're going to be so desperate, they're going to take their little device in order to go back into that semi-normal life. You know, let's go ahead and continue on. And it's not going to be normal. You know, you're going to have a friendly, everyday people going to have a friendly reminder. Let's continue on in verse 18. Here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 600. 3 goes back into what? 666. It actually goes into the universal product code, you know, which even when you scan something, when you physically buy food or anything, even a self-checkout, you got to get that code. Is a 6 in the front, 6 in the beginning, and 6 in the middle, and the 6 at the end. You know, and 6 is the representation of those two lines, but it also goes back into chi, psi, stigma. That's 666 in the Greek, and once you go into that word stigma, there's something that's physically going to go into your hand. Let's get one more. We're going to end love. Let's go to Isaiah 36. In verse 6, it says, Lo, thou trustest in the staff of this broken reed on Egypt, whereon if a man lean, it will go into his hand and pierce it. Yes, you leaning and trusting in this system. It's going to physically go into your hand. That stigmata. You know, and again, that even goes back into a stigma. You got a stigma, a post, a stench of an open wound. People ain't going to want to be around you because you have been affected by E. And they ain't going to want to be around us because you trapped, you know. We ain't trying to get trapped. They're going to try to come and get me, man. No, you got to get out of here. Shoot. You know, because again, in this spirit, like how we shoot those Edomites back in the ancient realm, we're going to shoot a lot of people that have that device in them, man. Continuing on, though. It says, whereon if a man lean, it will go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all that trust in him. So again, once you take that device and you being so desperate, instead of you waiting and praying on the Lord, you lost your patience and you took that device. So now Esau is your king. Donald Trump, you know, the niggas, and nobody want him in office. You know what I'm saying? Even Kamala Harris, she gonna have the device in her too. You know, it ain't like it's gonna be just stick to the citizens. These elites gonna have it. Don't be surprised if LeBron James, different commercials come out of it. And again, they're gonna push it forth like a cell phone. The new Samsung Galaxy, the new C-Hip, it do this. And they said in the next 5 years, but you can see that they're rushing. China's making that move now. Lord willing, next year they start popping things off, man. Because the technology that they have now, they've been perfected it, 25, 30 years ago. So yeah, I can pray the video was edifying. And give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushua, by Hashem, Kakwadash. I want to give double honors to my apostle, Elsewhere Millstone, and Shalom.